The one-don Clansman gang trial resumed earlier today in the Home Circuit Court in downtown Kingston following a 2-week break due to COVID-19.
This is another MyView TV exclusive. Please remember to hit the notification bell, like, share and subscribe.
I don't bring nobody forward in your cheer for me. Everything what you see up, my natural talent. Let me tell you something. You see, when you know what to please the audience with, it's simple.
The alleged gang leader Andre Blackman Bryan, along with his 32 co-accused, are being tried on a 25-count indictment containing several murder-related charges, arson, as well as illegal possession of firearm and ammunition. The court heard evidence today implicating defendant Tariq James, who allegedly fired several shots at the police during a patrol in a community in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. James is an alleged top shooter in the gang and also a personal bodyguard for Bryan.
The prosecution continued its case against the 33 defendants in the one-don Clansman gang trial on Monday, calling to the stand 2 police witnesses. Both were said to be police on mobile patrol in the Rivoli area of Spanish Town on November 7, 2017. Both constables testified they saw a vehicle in the area that aroused their suspicions. They went in pursuit of the vehicle, and upon reaching an intersection, they saw a man came out of the vehicle and fired several rounds in their direction. They say the vehicle sped off and the man with the firearm ran onto another road with both policemen giving chase after him. They told the court that the man again fired at them, forcing them to take cover. Chief Justice Brian Sykes intervened in the first examination, questioning if there was a count of shooting with intent. But the prosecution explained that the officers seized a firearm linked to a murder on the indictment and arrested a defendant on trial. The judge allowed the examination to continue. Both policemen say they observed the man entering a premises in an attempt to hide, but he was allegedly discovered while trying to unjam the firearm. The man, later identified as Tariq James, was taken into custody at the Spanish Town police station, and the firearm, a Sig Sauer .45 pistol, and a magazine containing 6 cartridges seized. During cross-examination, the attorney representing James questioned the lawmen if they had discharged their weapons at any time during the incident. Both said no, one giving reason that several vehicles and people were on the road and he didn't want to bring harm to anyone or property. A third police witness was called to the stand to corroborate the incident and the seizure. The firearm and ammunition as well as the ballistic certificate were all tendered into evidence. The court also learned that the vehicle connected to the incident was also located and seized.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes was earlier today taken aback by the fact that neither the police nor the prosecution in the one-don Clansman gang trial had images of a crime scene that was processed in 2017. The incident relates to the murder of a man allegedly carried out by members of the gang, but there's seemingly no forensic evidence from the police to admit to the court's records.
The murder in question is that of a man identified as Damaine Foster in August 2017 on Red Hills Road in St. Andrew. 2 civilian witnesses have so far given evidence relating to the murder, and now the forensic crime scene investigator has been called to the stand. But much to the Chief Justice's surprise, there is no physical evidence of the crime scene. The forensic photographer was in the process of detailing how she processed the scene, but Chief Justice Brian Sykes intervened, asking, "Where are the pictures?" The police witness could not account for the pictures she took, saying after they were downloaded, something went wrong with the hard drive and the compact disc with the images was given to an officer with the statement, who then signed for it. However, that book has seemingly disappeared and the witness did not remember the officer's name. Chief Justice Sykes remarked, quote, "This is not looking good in the 21st century," end quote. This while asking what if there were unsolved cases and the pictures would be necessary to the matter or even to exonerate someone. The witness further stated that spent casings were collected from the scene as well as a blood sample. Meanwhile, another police witness detailed how he was in the Spanish Town bus park in February of 2018 when a bus driver who was a victim of extortion was shot and killed just meters away. The driver, known to the officer as Tandy Bay, plied the route from Spanish Town to Maypen. Additionally, the prosecution says that the Communication, Forensic and Cybercrime Division, CFCD, is currently in the process of combing through the call data records of conversation between members of the gang. It is expected that the call data records will be made available to the court by the end of this week. The trial will reconvene on Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Police witness says along with the burnt bodies, he saw spent cases among the rubble of the charred house. Some people in the courtroom were stunned at the images of the burnt remains, and there were mutterings about the gender of the victims seen in the photographs. Alleged leader of the one-don faction of the gang, accused Andre Bryan, hung his head and hugged himself periodically while the images were being displayed on a screen at the front of the courtroom. It was after 11:30 and the prosecutor asked the presiding judge, Chief Justice Brian Sykes, if it was an appropriate time for a health break, which usually occurs at that time daily. Brian burst out in laughter, looked around the courtroom, which was silent, then hung his head low. Following the break, a civilian witness who identified herself as a relative of the male victim seen in the photographs took the stand. She explained that her son worked at a chemical facility in Crossroads, St. Andrew, and would usually spend the weekends with her starting Friday evenings when he left work. The prosecution asked the witness if she knew the woman whose charred remains were close to her son's at the crime scene. The witness explained that she did not know the woman, but was told by her son a couple months before he was killed that a girl loved him. The civilian witness says she'd asked her son about his child's mother, and she says he said she was doing fine. In the meantime, the mother of Miss Walder, who's said to be the female victim of that double murder and arson, took the stand. She says her daughter was a child she was close to. The civilian witness explained she last saw her daughter alive the morning before the incident at 10:30. She says she was not aware her relative was in a relationship with anyone. The witness, who was visibly emotional since she started to speak, broke down in tears when asked if she saw her daughter's body at the funeral. She explained that the casket was closed, but she says she didn't think she could bring herself to seeing her daughter's body.
The civilian witness says in the wee hours of September 8, 2017, she heard dogs barking at about 3:30 a.m. She says barking dogs in the community usually indicated that one of two sets of people were entering the community. The police, or court, demanded them from Jones Avenue. She says that was followed by loud explosions she says were gunshots and noises sounding like someone was kicking off a gate and later a door. The prosecutor asked the woman how she knew the explosions were gunshots, and she explained, quote, "Me hear gunshot every day." She says she jumped out of bed amid the barrage of gunfire and stood on a table to see what was happening at a nearby house. The civilian witness says she was able to make out one of the alleged gangsters who was standing with another man under a tree in which a bulb was installed to provide lighting. "And then can stand up right under the tree," the witness remarked. Some of the accused, including Andre Bryan, chuckled at her remarks. She says she knew the gangster she recognized, Frazzle, since he was a child when he was growing up in another section of the new nursery community. A previous civilian witness, a self-confessed former gang member, had previously told the court he was introduced to alleged One Don faction leader Andre Bryan by Frazzle, who's now deceased. The witness yesterday says the man she calls Frazzle was bearing a firearm she knew. When the prosecution asked the woman how she knew the weapon she says Frazzle was carrying, she said, quote, "Me know it when Kojikal didn't have it. Him dead now." She says the gunshots lasted for an extended period, and as the alleged gangsters were leaving the scene, they were still firing. The woman says she later went outside and saw the house ablaze. She says she explained to a team of police she saw on the scene that it was not her house ablaze, and they sped off in a police vehicle without checking the building that was engulfed in flames. According to the civilian witness, after the firefighters extinguished the blaze, she saw two bodies she described as, quote, "the two little piece of something." She says several community members converged on the scene and were talking about how the male victim, Jermaine Bryan, had taken home the female victim, Cedella Walder, that night. She says she knew the female but could not recognize her due to extensive burns to her body. The civilian witness says that was the first time the young woman was coming to the man's house. Images of that crime scene were shown in court yesterday, and showing two charred bodies among the rubbles along with spent casings. The woman holding up her index finger said, quote, "Me see the little something so, and see a German penis." She says she also observed a large bottle with liquid and attempted to smell it to determine if it was gas, but she says a policewoman on the scene prevented her from smelling the liquid in the bottle.